Let's go. Streaming data free on the MTN network in South Africa.
This is Omnisport.
T's and C's apply.
It is the Women's T20 World Cup and it'll take place in the UAE. It all begins on the morrow. Here are the 6 players you should be looking forward to in the showpiece. Kev, before we get to the 6 players, are you putting any money on the World Cup?
I don't bet on cricket because too many other people have done that and got themselves into trouble. Ask Kansi Correa and the War Brothers and Shane Warne. So I do not bet on cricket. Also because it's the most unpredictable of beasts. I mean, if you had to put money on South African cricket at the moment, you wouldn't be able to win. You wouldn't know what they were doing. I mean, their game against Ireland is still up and down. I don't know. So no, I won't be putting money on cricket. I do bet on rugby and I put money on football, but no, thank you, cricket.
Not the cricket. What isn't what's a sure bet is the 6 players we should be looking forward to. Obviously, the cricket world and the women's cricket world is something that's still growing and people are still embracing it. And I think they've done a good job at the ICC to give the limelight that women's cricket deserves. We got the 6 players that you should be looking forward to. Kev, who is the number 1 player that we should be looking for?
Well, if you're a South African, you'd be looking at Sunny Lewis, who's the former South African captain. And she, a year after she led South Africa to the first ever white ball final, and that was in both men and women, she's now here just as a batter who also bowls a bit of off spin, having switched from leggies. She had a terrible white ball season in Sri Lanka earlier this year, made just 21 from the T20s and 43 in the ODIs, but she's bounced back 65 and 109 in a losing cause and a one-off test in Chennai. And then there's a 53 not out in a T20 against Pakistan in Multan in a 3-match series. Her strike rate is 136. You know, she's extraordinary. She is probably South Africa's best player. Maybe having the captaincy taken away from her has lifted that sense of responsibility and freed up her batting.
It does tend to do that to some players. You know, some players sort of flourish once they've got the captaincy. Some players, you lift it off their shoulders and they can start to play free again. So hopefully she can bring the noise for the South Africans and take us to another white ball final, because we know right now we've got a good thing going with the Springboks. Why not have the Proteas do this at the World Cup for us there? So our first player you said was?
Sune Lewis, so she's the former captain of Sune Lewis, yeah. And then my next one's going to be an Australian, Beth Mooney, which is a very Australian name. She's top of the T20 batting rankings at the moment. She's part of the 6-time world champions. The Australians are just basically, they're very reliant on her. You know, she's a key member of the team that won the last 3 editions of the T20 World Cup. She was named player of the series in 2020 after scoring an unbeaten 78 in the finals. Australia beat India. And she's the sort of person who can clatter. I mean, as she did 50 from 30 balls and more, went over to England and Dubai. So she's 30 years old and there's no reason that she can't be another superstar. I mean, Australia are out-and-out favourites again. Let's see if Beth Mooney can lead them home.
That is a comically Australian name. Oh, you can just imagine Beth Mooney. She's just special, isn't she? Beth Mooney. That is so comically Australian. But Beth Mooney, one of the best in the business. And if you're an Aussie, you're on, she's on your side and you're on her side. That's good old Beth is from Australia, mate. Probably from like a Ringa Donga Bonga or something like that. Australia, by the way, their locations are a comedy. Like Kookaburra is a real place, by the way. That's a very real place. Produces the cricket ball and a nice bird, very nice bird. That bird. All right, our third player to look out for is
a very English name, Sophie Eccleston. She's 25 years old, left-arm spinner from Cheshire, made her international debut 8 years ago, which, I mean, she was 17 years old. Now the highest-ranked bowler in ICC's T20 and ODI rankings. And in June, she became the youngest bowler ever to take 100 ODI wickets. She's almost 6 foot tall, which is quite tall for a female bowler these days. She brings some accuracy, economy, and guile to the attack. She is the perfect person to captain because she gives you such control, and she's got this incredible attacking threat because of her height, and she gives you that sort of bit on both edges, both of defense and attack. So Sophie Eccleston, 25 years old, and has been playing international cricket for 8 years. That's extraordinary.
That is extraordinary. And you know what's even more extraordinary is wunderkinds in any sport, men or women. It is commendable when they deliver, because very often the pressure of being a wonder kid crushes these young athletes. So for her to be able to not only be a wonder kid, come through it and then deliver and become the world's best, that's purely a character thing, because it's not fun being a child in front of the world, you know, awkwardly having to grow up in front of the world. And we know young people make mistakes and they have to still be humans and grow. So for her at 17 and 8 years later to deliver on the promise that she gave us 8 years ago is an awesome thing. Number one in the world. Hey, big up to Miss Eccleston. We'll be looking forward to not supporting her as a South African, but watching her do her thing as the best in the business. Who's our next player?
Someone who actually has had a fair amount of controversy follow around, Deepti Sharma, the Indian. So she, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2 years ago in an ODI, she man-catted England's Charlie Dean. And that didn't go down well in the world. You know, and obviously man-cat is when, for those who don't know, is when you pretend to bowl and then you watch the guy run out of the crease or the batsman, and then you basically stump them. It's become almost normalized now. It was considered the very height of unsportspersonship, not womanship, Kevin. And but she's 27 years old. India have never won a Women's World Cup, and Sharma believes that this could be the time for them. You know, she's hoping for the very best. But let's see. Please don't man-cat anyone. We don't need that again.
We don't need it again. You don't need it again, as though you don't have enough pressure playing cricket for India. Listen, that is one country where they do not care. Men's, women's, children's. If you are Indian and you wear that light blue shirt, they expect you to be the very best. And if she's bringing any controversy, although I kind of like the way India have rebranded lately, is especially under Virat, is they've gone a little Australian. In wrestling terms, they call it going heel. You know, there's babyface and there's heel. India have gone a little heel, so maybe she's gonna lean into it and maybe man-cat again. Like, let's man-cat. I'm gonna man-cat in each game and embrace it, and maybe she gets some sponsorship off that.
Maybe called woman cat. Yeah,
that's exactly it. There we go. You've done the marketing for her. That's great.
I had to get one pun in. Yeah.
There are no bad ideas in brainstorming. She's going to be woman catting. By the way, I first heard here on Omnisport Breakfast with Kevin McCallum and MKT. Who's our next player, Kev?
So it's Sri Lankan, both teenagers in the last two. Vishmi Gunaratne, which is also a very, very Sri Lankan name. She's just 19. Possibly she's a great player in the making. There is no doubt. She made her first debut at the age of 16. And even if her scores don't really sort of average up with the best, I mean, she only averages 20 in 43 T20s, but it's at a strike rate of 92 and 350s. So she does have an ODI 100 to her name. And she's got something special about her. You know, she was the second Sri Lankan after Chamari Atapattu did a ton on her debut. She's running into form at the right time, I think.
You'd like to hear that. Sri Lanka, a good Sri Lanka is good for cricket across the board, because they always do play with that flair. And of course, Atapattu, I love to hear that surname. I'm not sure if she's related to the great Marvin Atapattu, but that's a great surname and has a legacy if you're a cricket fan, of course. And then I think we're on to our last one now, hey? Our last player our sixth player.
Another teenager, 18-year-old Hayley Matthews from the West Indies. She gave us an early notice of the type of talent she's got. I mean, she clubbed 66 or 45 balls whenever the West Indies chased down 149 to beat Australia and win the 2016 T20 World Cup. You know, she was named the player of the match. Her career is just taken off. You know, she plays franchise cricket around the world. She averages 25. She's the captain at the age of at young age, superstar. She's 26. No, under no illusions about the task ahead. So we're going in as underdogs again. There's no doubt about that. But you'd rather be an underdog going into this tournament and do better than you thought you would.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. Those are your six players to look out for at the World Cup. Coming up next, we'll be talking a little bit of football. Benny's back in the 18 area, but why? Is he returning to his old team, or is it Mamelodi Sundowns?
Listen live and on demand.
Welcome to Omnisport.